All right, hello, and welcome back to the Cup Chasers podcast. Thanks for being here. Thanks for listening. The Boehly Shore has entertained us all season long, and we're going to take a look back at the Chelsea season. But go ahead and smash the likes up out there for all you Chelsea fans. Subscribe to the channel, get that notification bell on. We will be back real soon, of course. I will also say this, it didn't seem like much changed from Tuchel to Potter.
No, he tried to keep the same, and obviously it wasn't working. Tuchel was in the middle of tinkering and plug and play.
Well, I said it all season long. You guys never had a creator, never had a center attacking midfield number 10 type. And then in January, splash the cash for Enzo and bring in Felix, who I think Felix was the one that was supposed to be the 10, supposed to be the creator.
Yeah.
But gets a red card immediately, which was just I really enjoyed that, I gotta say.
$600,000 red card right there, guys.
I gotta say I enjoyed how Mud Dog came in, gave the energy, but Arsenal missed out on him and got Trossard instead, and I feel like we definitely got the better end of that whole situation. But he's still young, and he's got 97 years on his contract.
Exactly.
So
moving forward out of, we went through the Champions League, get out of group stage, we go back to the league.
It's worth mentioning the Dortmund game. Probably the highlight of the season.
I would say we played better in the Milan game, but
no, I meant in the knockout stages.
Oh, yeah.
It's probably the highlight of the season.
Yeah. I would agree with that. I think that that was a new manager bounce for sure. If you look, because I'm looking at the way the fixtures went. Right. First two games at Zagreb, Salzburg at home, it was 1-0, 1-1.
Are you talking about the Milan game?
And then we went to
the Milan game was the red card.
We had Milan at home. That was 3-0.
Yeah.
That was because Mount felt the wind blow because dude's fingernail got him. And he fell over and got PK and red card.
He knew what he was doing. And so then you had, of course, Chelsea at Milan, 1-2-0. Then they hosted Salzburg, 1-2-1. And then they hosted Zagreb and 1-2-1. So that was where that new manager bounce came in. You've got 12 points in the Champions League. You got 13 because he got the draw at Salzburg. So I mean,
that was the first game.
Yeah. So I mean, that was where the new manager bounce came, and that's one reason why people pointed to, well, this is what Tuchel did, and he did. It's not an argument that he didn't, but this is what Tuchel did, and yeah. And then Potter's big moments were, in the Champions League, which again, this club, as much as they love, winning the league, they want to be in the Champions League as long as possible. And that's more important. And that's been more important since probably the second round of Mourinho. We got that taste with Di Matteo. It caused, the guy got sacked like 6 months later.
Oh, we got a taste of it when we went up against Barcelona in 2008, lost in semis. Then we go to 2009, go all the way, and Terry just can't sink a penalty.
Do you still remember the fact that Ronaldo missed a penalty in that shootout as well?
All Terry had to do.
And he still didn't win.
Hey, it's fine because in Bayern, Iron Robin missed a penalty, and
wasn't that their treble too? Wasn't that their treble?
Oh, that was their treble.
Yeah, I think so.
When we say miss a penalty, I'm just gonna have to, and I know you guys get it. Petr Cech was a wall in that freaking game, man. So
I don't think he missed a penalty. That was Petr Cech.
That's what I'm saying. He was a wall. That
he was
man
incredible.
On his freaking head the whole game.
I mean, Bayern's goal came off of a header like within 2 yards of the.
Muller hit that. That is one of the most beautiful. I hate that header,
Cech's
but it's
a
beautiful header. When he heads it, he knows Cech's tracking high, so Muller bounces it off the. Oh, it's I love that game. That's just an amazing game all around. Anyway,
he used to be a great goal scorer instead of a meme.
Yeah.
But
I got a question. I
got
a question for you, Chelsea gentlemen, because I'm listening and I hear you and I respect the Chelsea culture. I do, because you won. But with winning and maintaining the players run the steer the ship mentality, is that healthy to continue to do that in the space that they're in now?
No,
it
not
almost
now.
seems like actually, you said it a couple of times. I think, Patrick, you said it too, that you don't know your club. And I hear you and I agree, but that means that you probably have to change it to something else, which means you need to get a good manager. And I don't know if this new guy from Celtic is he's from Celtic, right? Am I saying right?
No, you're talking about Spurs, right?
You talk about Spurs.
That's Spurs manager. We got
Pochettino. I'm sorry. Yeah,
we have the Spurs old manager, right?
So
the Spurs manager told Chelsea no.
Yeah,
but it is really important that
I would too.
You have to make the decision this year, and it can't linger. That either it's going to be a player-centric culture or it's going to be based on the manager. You have to make that decision now. Like, for example,
it's going to be manager
based. What? It's Pep. Whatever Pep wants, that's what's happening. If he don't like you, you got to go. They got rid of Joe Hart, literally a City legend, the first year. He's like, hey, man, he can't play my style. He got to get out.
Yep.
This at the time, he was England's number one, and he kicked him out the team.
I think it moves to the manager because Mao said it. Mao said it best, and I know managers talk about this all the time. There's a bunch of pundits, and the world's changing and everything. But Mao really put this in perspective for me when he was talking about the old guard and everything. Those were men. At 23, Lampard was a full-grown man. You could treat him, you could talk to him, you could play him like a full-grown man. You cannot talk to Mudryk in any type of manner as you would have John Terry or Lampard in that locker room, because they're soft. They're boys. They've been coddled their whole life. Soccer or football has been instilled with them, and they've had sports science and leagues and clubs since they were 4 years old. They weren't Didier Drogba kicking a coconut on the Ivory Coast beach to train when you were a child. Like, things are a lot different in the world today. While that still goes on, the majority of our players that are in our locker rooms come from a very nice academy now, from the time that they were children. And that it doesn't allow while their field growth is exponential, it doesn't allow their personal or mentality to grow a lot of times. And that's what we're seeing with these players. When you have someone like Neymar or like Pogba has a serious issue with who he is in a locker room and how you have to treat him as a personality. And a lot of players are like that. I'm just using, a name that would catch that we all know has an issue. These boys can't handle that type of to run the club. They are not the backbone of our club. I think Jake says it all the time. They're mercenaries. So who you can't have be a mercenary is the manager. You have to have a manager who cares, which is why I was really upset with Tuchel leaving. Tuchel cared. I don't care what happened. He cared. Frank Lampard, you can say what you want about him as a manager. He cared about our club. Jose Mourinho cared about our club. Di Matteo, I would like to think he cared about our club because he played, but you know what I'm saying? There is a you have to move this to managers, because these boys will sell you out at a drop of a dime for $100 million and move to Madrid. You could have offered, you could have offered the Stevie Gerrard or Frank Lampards of the world hundreds of millions of dollars to come to your club, and they say, no, I want to win at Liverpool. No, I want to win at Chelsea. No, I want to win here because it means more to me. They don't care about the meaning to them anymore, and it shows week in and week out. It shows this season. It shows these boys don't care about the badge. It shows these boys don't care about our club, our fans. A lot of them just sat down, took their paycheck, and did not show up week after week. Thiago Silva did not lead this team like a captain.
I think at this point, and we've said it on a couple of different pods, there's going to come a time for Chelsea fans, unfortunately, and I feel like it happened already at this point in this season, that the culture that used to be there, you've said it, X, is gone. But now there has to be something new, right? And so all these new guys don't know what that is. And Pochettino is not the same kind of manager as Potter.
Right.
And I think
there ain't gonna be no
that
corporate days in the swimming pool.
I'm just saying, I think that when he, we're going to see a fire sale no matter what. That's pretty much a guarantee.
Has to happen, right?
Lots of people are seeing the door. And so I think that Pochettino is going to be able to, because let's face it, he's arguably Spurs' best manager in the modern era. And he was able to take a team that languished in mid-table for a long time. I still remember them being absolutely terrible on old FIFA games. And was able to have them in Champions League for a long time. So Pochettino's got the track record in the Premier League.
He took them to a final.
Yeah. He took them to a Champions League final.
Hey, who'd they lose to in that final?
Liverpool.
I think that football. Liverpool.
I think that Pochettino might steady the ship and with a good preseason go a long way to instilling whatever the new culture is.
I would agree. Which is why I was glad we got someone like that. Like I wasn't mad at Nagelsmann. I wasn't going to be mad at Enrique. I wasn't going to be mad at Posh. Some of the other names floating around, I was going to be really upset if they brought in.
What's the term on Pochettino's contract? Is it 3 years?
2 years with an
2 years with an additional extension after the second. After he gets 2 years, like that's unless you pay him out like he did Potter, he's got 2 years.
I don't like that contract, but well, go ahead.
Did they learn their lesson from?
Oh yeah, I don't like that contract.
From giving Potter $60 million and then having to pay it out, all of it, to get him out of his contract.
Yeah, right. I mean, I get it. I get it on the business side. Like I understand the business side of it, but we just literally talked about there has to be and there's no. Well, I guess that there is a way that the owner could be blind enough to not see that your manager has to set the culture. And while I understand, they have the 25-year contracts on the new people that they're bringing in for a variety of reasons. But the thing about it is that this is where you would feel you would give the manager that too, if you want to establish that. For example, like in City, it's really weird because, like, for example, Pep extends, like he gets 2-year contracts every 2 years. And every 2 years he's about to retire. But this is also after he's won, and so this is where he's basically writing his own ticket when he wants to go. You kind of want to keep this guy because if you don't keep this guy, maybe Jose comes back, right? But I don't see that. I don't think he wants to do England again.
Not unless things at Roma get bad.
But I don't see that. I think they love him.
I don't see that. They do love it. He loves it there. He's loving it there. Right.
And so you got Carlo, who probably will go back to Italy as well. If whenever he's done at Madrid. So you're like, okay, well, obviously there's young up and coming managers that you could look at to take over. But again, the goal is to have an established manager with established sort of rapport and repertoire to bring it in. And so you got this guy, and you need to have the culture centered around the manager, and you give him a 2-year deal. Now, I understand you made your mistake with Potter, but that Potter and Pochettino ain't the same thing, man. It's not. And so so that's why I don't like the contract, because here's what would happen, right? So say, for instance, you have 1 year, he does well, and they say they make Europa, they finish 7th, right? Because I think the league is so farmerish that they'll be able to make that move where they can be top half, right?
Well, they'll have less matches too, so there'll be a lot more training.
We actually get a full
summer
window.
They'll be top half. I think they'll be top half for sure next year. I think they fight for a Europe spot. So say they do that, right? And so they do that. But then Pochettino, but again, we don't know this guy as an owner. So Pochettino's like, okay, well, I need this guy. And the owner's like, I don't want that guy. He's not sexy enough, because owners get like that, especially American managers. I mean, others do, but American managers specifically get like that. For example, Neymar is out there because there's the rumor that he may go to United. All of a sudden, the manager's like, hey, man, you had Neymar at PSG. You want him here? No, we do not want him. Even though I'm guessing, they would buy him, right? So in year 2, say that happens, and Pochettino's like, man, I don't like this.
That's why I think that's why it bodes. I think Pochettino.
That's why I don't like that. I don't like that
but
deal.
to get someone like him, to get Mal, I think any of them would have offered that because they don't know Boehly, they don't know clearly, they don't know how involved. Because again,
Chelsea had to bow to his demands.
Right, and then but Tuchel wouldn't let my man in the locker room and got fired for it. Like, you can say what they want about the Domino Zagreb game. When you lock an owner out of a locker room and have, the gusto to tell him no straight to his face and in front of every player in there, you're not going to have a desk next week. Like, unless that's established up front. Like, the gusto on Todd Boehly to try to walk into Thomas Tuchel's locker room, first off, that's disgusting as an owner. But again, I understand it, and I hate saying it this way, but that's an American owner. That doesn't surprise me at all.
But you're right, though. It's part of the demands in the contract for Poch to even come to the club at all.
And I understand that, but I feel like that's poor negotiating on their part. Because you're saying,
here's the thing, okay?
One more.
I think it
protects Tuchel didn't know Boehly was going to do that.
No.
Yeah, I mean, he did. Here's the thing, though. I mean,
that's the mistake of the season. But
I understand the concern about transfers and all that because we've seen that be a problem. I do think, though, that what we're looking at currently, what we're doing to get rid of players, it is more manager specific. I mean, Pochettino said straight up, we don't need Felix. People at the club love Felix.
Yep, but gone.
But he's going back to Atletico Madrid.
Mount just said publicly for the first time that he's willing to at least talk about a contract extension before he gets sold. That's the type of stuff we need.
Got to pay him more than Sterling. Got to pay him.
I pay him more than Sterling. Pay my man his money. Pay my man more than Raheem Sterling. He's worth more than Raheem Sterling.
Does he deserve it, though? What's he done?
Yes.
What's he done?
Yes, he is.
What's he done?
Without Mason Mount, we do not win that Champions League. Period.
Okay, that was 2 years
ago. And he's been hurt the entire season. What's your excuse for Reece James? You use the same excuse for Reece James as every Chelsea game.
Kai Havertz is still around too, so that "what have you done for me lately" is not a thing at Chelsea. They love to hang on to their people.
Yeah, and N'Golo Kante has been hurt all season, yet he's revered.
But here's the thing.
Everyone else gets a pass, but Mount doesn't.
You're asking
to me.
You're asking to pay Mount the type of money that you're paying a world-class player.
Sterling, yes.
If you're paying him Sterling's money, he's over Reece James at that point too. He's up to Sterling, Koulibaly. We're talking about established players.
They're they are trash. Raheem Sterling didn't do anything for us, and he should have. Koulibaly didn't do anything for us.
But your contract says that. Like, Raheem Sterling is a starter in the England national team. He just came off of winning 8 trophies with Manchester City. He was the leading scorer or the number 2 leading scorer in the team for consecutive seasons. Like, I agree that the potential is higher, but in business they don't pay on that type of stuff. You gotta pay on the commodity it is. I agree with you. I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying. Your logic makes total sense. But as an owner, I mean, if I'm Raheem Sterling's agent, there's no way I allow you to pay a guy with no resume compared to mine more money. There's no way.
Mason Mount is a starter on the English squad as well. Like, he internationally, I'm pretty sure Raheem Sterling hasn't won as much as.
He's not Raheem Sterling. Now is in this moment, is he better? Yeah, but I'm talking. But you get paid off what you did.
Yeah,
and I'll take it a step further. You want to pay him. I would love to keep Mason Mount. I want that to be known ahead of time. But you're wanting to pay him based on potential, and every single person that we've signed since January is being paid at a lower rate because they haven't proved their potential yet. And that's how we've balanced the book, so to speak. And that's what I mean. I don't think that Mason Mount should be paid $250,000 a week or 250,000 pounds a week.
I don't think anybody should, but that's a whole nother thing.
Well, I mean, that's a whole other discussion.
And so I would add.
Look at this. Look at the season. All right. Season review. Look at the season. Mount goes down. He doesn't play really after the World Cup. The loss to Southampton, I called for Potter to be fired immediately right after the World Cup. We go on a 7 games unwinning.
I think we lost. I think we had a. I think at one point we were at
1, 2,
11.
3.
You won on January 15th, and then it was not great.
Not great.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The argument that you can make for him is the Saliba argument. That's the argument you could make but Saliba's is a lot more tangible.
Most definitely.
They would blame this. They blame every fan, every pundit, everybody blames the Chelsea downfall of pretty much the entirety of the season for not having Conte. We lost both. And no one gives Mount his grace here because he played hurt. He played hurt. He had to have surgery. Like, this man's not Reece James. He didn't go out for 4 weeks, then come back, get hurt again, then go out 4 weeks to make an appearance. My man sat on the bench and suffered through this for the club. If there's anyone who deserves the ban, if there's anyone who deserves the amount of investment from the club, there's any amount of person who should be paid on potential at Chelsea, it's Mason Mount. Period. He's been with us since he was a child. He's worth more than Mudryk. He loves the club more than almost anyone there. I guarantee you he'd fight harder for us than Raheem Sterling ever would in a game, regardless in any type of situation you put either of those players in. Mason's going to die on the field before Sterling would. Okay, that's why I'm going to pay him.
So if they offer him $200,000, which is what is rumored to be the next offer, and he says no,
I'd say no too. I am not taking less than Raheem Sterling. I'm not getting paid less than what
$200K.
No. How many goals did Raheem Sterling score for us this season?
X.
Single digits.
Really is.
Single digits.
X. If he really is, as you say, the play for the shirt guy, the guy that's gonna go die on the field for the team, it wouldn't matter.
I'm not going to let the club look at me in the face and disrespect me every week by paying that man who doesn't care. I'd rather leave as well because you're not going to spit in my face every week for caring about you.
I agree with you, X, but I think the difference is that you were bringing an outside guy in, so he was never going to care as much as him anyway. He was never going to be there. It's the equivalent of you're looking at Holland, which most people think is going to be a mercenary, right? They're like, he's going to leave, right? It's just anticipated. And City is attempting to re-sign him or extend his contract right now. But that was based on what he did this year.
This season.
He nobody else got Champions League. Look at that run. Look at that season. He scored more goals than what Raheem Sterling scored this year as a midfielder.
I'm just saying.
I don't understand where this resume argument comes from when we talk about Mason Mount. He won us trophies.
I mean, he was in a team that won trophies.
Yeah.
He was instrumental in a team that won us trophies.
But Raheem Sterling has that same argument.
Not with Chelsea.
But he just got there.
But that's how he got the contract. Was his performance and goals
and they should have never gave it to him. I hate Raheem Sterling. Hated him at Liverpool. Hated him at City.
But he had the numbers. That's what we're saying. He had the numbers and the resume to get the contract.
You give me Kevin De Bruyne, I'm putting in 30 goals too. As Raheem Sterling, I'm putting in those goals too.
Yeah.
I don't know because there's a bunch of people at City that wasn't putting in 30 goals. I mean, I get what you're saying, but there's a bunch of guys who wouldn't do it. Raheem Sterling was doing it. When he was there with Pellegrini, he wasn't scoring. When Guardiola was there, he started scoring. There was something going on there.
Yeah.
I'm not getting paid less. If I'm Mount, I'm holding out as well. I'm not getting paid less than Raheem Sterling because this season alone, you want Raheem Sterling to step up and make his money and make his name and actually have an argument in this conversation, score some goals. We lost so many games, 1-0. You missed so many sitters this season. The goal you scored for us to beat Dortmund is trash.
Well, maybe
it's a with volley you miss. Get your own rebound. Lucky you have a horseshoe shove so far.
Maybe Pochettino will recognize that his horseshoe's fallen out, and maybe they'll move him on. Kind of help out with the wage bill.
Well, by the way,
They should have
Raheem
fired
Sterling
Connor right after the
scored
World
9
Cup and
goals this
fixed
season.
all this. How many? 9?
I think he was the leading scorer for the club.
That's disgusting.
Well, yeah, we scored 38 total goals this season.
Disgusting.
Average one a game.
The answer, gentlemen, is to bring Sonny in.
Yeah.
Do not even.
Goal scorer.
Do not even.
Hey, he knows Poch. I'm just saying.
He does, but he's also. I mean, come on.
The answer.
Just throwing that out there. All right. So what's the hope for next season? What's the biggest, most ambitious goal we can have for next season?
Top 4.
You really believe that's possible? You did say earlier that y'all aren't gonna do anything this season.
No, we're not gonna win a trophy. I do think we can compete. If we fix the holes in this squad, we can compete. We have a whole summer window to do it, which we haven't had, granted, in the last 2 to 3 years, to have a whole summer window.
Well, hopefully Poch can just bring some stability.
Yeah.
Simple stability.
Like I said Europe because I'm gonna be honest. Liverpool's gonna be good next year.
Yeah, they will.
Arsenal's gonna be good next year.
Yep.
Yeah. Newcastle will
City's
stay
gonna be
good.
good next year.
Newcastle will
United will be good next year.
What's going to be
That's 14 right
interesting?
there. I just named 4 teams.
But here's the thing, okay? Keep this in mind. You're talking about teams that are going to be playing consistently, so they're going to have bigger squads, or they're going to run into fatigue issues, right? You got Chelsea, who's going to be playing 1 game a week, except for when it's, FA or EFL, I think is what it's called. That's all. That's it. So I do think that if you can get the squad put together properly, this team will be competitive. This team will win some games that they probably have no business doing. I think we can finish top 6. I'm not going to say top 4 right now just because I haven't seen the makeup of the team. But I do think that with Pochettino, there will be a calming of this chaos. And that alone is going to help this team next year.
And will develop an actual style of play.
I'm going to disagree with you on it not win anything, too. I think they will win a trophy. I think they go for the EFL Cup, too. And the reason I say that is for this reason. One of the things that Pochettino had, and the PSG thing, it helped, but it didn't, is that he didn't win anything. And, he won the Audi with Spurs. Jake, I'm still not agreeing with that counting as a trophy. But anyway,
you don't have to convince me.
You get it out of the cereal box. It's not a trophy.
Here's my rationale behind that, because Patrick actually laid the groundwork for this to make total sense to me, too. Because now I understand the argument that the other teams, the other top 4 teams will be busy in Europe, but they already know how to do that. So I don't think that really affects them in that way. For example, Arsenal showed they say, hey, we're going to prioritize the league over this, but they're going to do both, which means they're going to have a bigger team next year. Liverpool will clearly be better. United actually has a decent sized team. They just underperform. And so I'm looking at that and I'm saying, well, Chelsea have a really good chance if they go for it in the EFL Cup. That'll be a huge win. Because even if you're saying, well, I'm going to be mid-table, if you can get a trophy early with this guy, I think it propels you somewhere else. Because it's in January. No, is it February? Early February, January, something like that. Mm-hmm. And I think that does something for you because it makes you attractive. Because if you're looking at it where you're in the semifinals of the EFL Cup come January and that window opens, that's intriguing. And so I think if we're going to go for realistic goals, obviously the owner will be like top 4, which would be stupid to say, but he should say that. I say Europe, so that's top 7.
I don't know how a $700 million squad is not going to make top 4.
No one else does either.
They didn't this year. So
I understand this year, yes. But we have I can see the legitimate excuses. If you hand it to me on paper, I'm your boss. I can look at that and go, okay, yeah, you locked out of a transfer window. That sucks. You lost 2 managers. That sucks. There's other issues that we came into this season with injuries. Okay, yeah, we had more on injury reserve than we did starters on the field at one point to field a team. Okay, that I get that. That's how a $600 million squad can lose. I don't agree with us not being in Europe this season by any means necessary. 7th place was completely achievable. While we still had Graham Potter, 5th place was still achievable. 4th place was still achievable if we'd have fired him right after the World Cup when we come home and have an abysmal showing against a relegated team that had no business beating us. But again, no one wanted to listen to the writing on the wall, and I hope to God they finally do it. They bring in a 9. Posh does know how to do this, and this is what I'm excited for. I don't think we're going to win because I just don't see this team playing. They have to have time, man. These are young boys who have never played together. We had a squad who has spent 7, 8, 9 years bringing in 1 or 2 new people at a time. We brought in 6, 7, 8. We're fielding an entire new Chelsea squad, almost no returning starters. These boys don't know how to play together.
But here's why
there's no chemistry to the squad.
But here's why I'm gonna disagree with that, because cups are different. You only got to be good for like 7, 8 games. And if you put a team together for those 7, 8 games, free FL Cup, and see, here's the big thing that we have actually not talked about that matters for Chelsea's season. Because Patrick, you brought up a great point about the other teams being in Europe. You got 7 teams who are going to be in 8 teams that are going to be in Europe.
8.
That benefits you. But here's the issue behind that, and it's a really, really big issue. The scheduling matters, because how the schedule falls will determine all of that. Because, for example, if Arsenal could have changed the schedule they got and didn't finish out the way they did, their season doesn't end the way it does. It doesn't. If they have a different schedule, if those games are spaced out better, would they ever take, was it April, Jake, or March, April? They would never want to March, April like that again.
They're playing on Monday and Wednesday or something.
Well, everybody had that, though. And that was because
but I'm not talking about
we had some runs.
I'm not talking about the cluster of games. I'm talking about the competition. Like,
we played Newcastle, then City, then So
and so I'm talking about how it falls, because if it falls right for Chelsea, where they don't get stacked up games, then I think it lends itself to, okay, you got EFL Cup, but then you play one of the recently promoted teams. Well, you put your boys out there and you go after the EFL Cup. And the reason it matters, and it really matters, is because, and City has shown this, and I'm confused why other teams actually have, I don't know if they don't necessarily do it. The first half of the season, you're figuring each other out. Manchester City, over the last 7, 8 years, the second half of the season is when they focus. If you can start the second half of your season winning the EFL Cup, that run-in does everything for you. So why would, and I get what you're saying, X. I understand the realism of it, but if I'm Pochettino, I want to win a trophy right away. And that one is probably, I'm not saying it's easier, but it's the most realistic one, because the FA Cup takes too long.
Right.
The EFL Cup is right there for you, and I would go for it. That's what I would go for. I mean, draw matters, but
hope he does.
I think I put it like this: if Chelsea wins the EFL Cup, I think they finish top 6. They win the EFL Cup, they finish top 6, because there's no way you don't take the momentum of winning a trophy forward. Look what it did to United.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Look, and I mean, even though United was like mid, because think about it, when they won the EFL Cup, they were like, what, 6th? They weren't having a good season. They won that trophy, changed their whole season.
The quad was on.
The quad
was on for a bit there, yeah.
Oh my
God.
Grief.
I'll say that.
Yeah, I think that matters.